Thing's heavy. And it's cold out here in case you couldn't tell. Sitting over there for years. Tight fit, Cat. I don't like hanging over the edges. Hi, welcome to our channel.
I'm Kathy.
And I'm Rich.
And we're creating a simpler life in the Adirondacks, but...
Simple doesn't mean easy.
So we're standing inside our off-grid, earth-sheltered house here in the Adirondacks, under several feet of dirt. But that's not what today is about.
Today is about how to build a DIY rustic repurposed rebar railing. It's not necessarily the right way or the wrong way to build things. There's a lot of different ways of building things. Today we're going to show you our way. All right, talk about repurposing. We are going to repurpose all this rebar, or most of it anyway. We got about 20 of these 20-foot lengths. Plus I have scraps everywhere. Some here, some are in the shed. We're going to clean them all up, cut them to length, and those are going to be our balusters. We should have more than enough. And that'll get rid of some of this debris laying around here. So it's a win-win.
The Earth Sheltered House kit came with 13,000 linear feet of rebar, the majority of which was number 4. There was, however, a section of the top of the dome where we decided to swap out some number 4 for some number 5. That's why we had this little bit of number 4 left at the end. We couldn't return it because, again, it was part of a kit, so we thought a good way to repurpose it would be for some nice rustic-looking railings in the dome. This is a 10-foot 4.5 by 4.5 inch post that we custom ordered from a friend. Great deal. We have a whole bunch of them because we're going to do the stair railing and the loft railings. Those are the posts for it. And then underneath, those are rough sawn 2x4s. True dimension also. 2 inches by 4 inches solid, big beefy pieces. And that's going to hold our balusters. Ready? We're using all rough sawn pine, which is a very common tree here in the Adirondacks. It's also common here in the Adirondacks for people to mill their own lumber as a side job or a hobby and sell it. So it's extremely easy to find and budget friendly. Wow, they're gonna be so nice. Yeah, I like the rough, but I wanted a little rough, yeah, not this rough. This thing is just handy and quick. So I'm going to run it like 2 or 3 times like that, and we should be good on each side. So you can get the idea of what we're going for here. Kind of rough, but yet smooth. When we hit that with the stain and the poly, hopefully we'll get the result we're looking for. I got this square lined up on the floor where we want to put a post. So we're going to cut that hole and see what we can do to make that post live in that space properly. There are several different ways that posts can be secured. Initially, we wanted to attach ours to the front of the rim joist using some nice big bolts. However, you may have noticed how close the window is to that first post. That pretty much eliminated the possibility of being able to do it that way.
I'm gonna bolt it this way, screw it that way. It's gonna stay. I just need to get a notch established. And that's gonna go something like that.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that it's absolutely flush here. And we are stopper. That's going to be great. That's going to be solid. So this is our actual post. Got a notch at 1.5 inches, and then we're probably going to go about 8 inches, 9 inches down, 9.5 inches down.
Still on?
Yeah, I think I need to work from this scaffolding down here. Can I get this safely? Up. All right, that's good. I'll take that. So I started marking this out for 1.5 inches, and I'm gonna try and eliminate this ugly knot.
This is one of the reasons we chose to have true dimension 4.5 by 4.5 inch posts instead of 4x4 posts. Not only will they look nice, but after cutting the notches for the 1.5 inch wide rim joist, we will still have a full 3 inches left to bolt or screw through, making these posts extremely secure and strong.
And now I gotta do the other side. That's the trick now. Check out the name of this blade. The Wrecker.
Is that really the name of the blade? Come on.
Yeah. Will there be a link in the description below? I don't know. Wrecker in there. Ooh, that actually worked out nicer than I had hoped.
Good.
Look at that. It cut right through that knot. I mean, I don't even know how I got it so precise. I sure hope it fits, because the saw blade is actually went right on top of the other saw blade. Yeah.
That looks good. Wow, honey.
Do you want to do
That's like professional.
Should we do a dry fit off camera first?
That's cheating.
That way we look like pros?
It's everybody loves us because we're so honest.
This is real. This doesn't get any more real than this. Here, let's see. Please go.
What's it hitting?
Hitting something. Lesson learned, I compensated for the 3/4 inch OSB flooring, which really I didn't have to because it's going to sit below it to the joist.
But that's good. That's why we do one first.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Is it good? Oh! The second post notch was a little more difficult because there was both a rafter and a rim joist to notch around. However, we weren't too worried about the strength of the post being affected because we also plan on securing it to the studs in the wall right next to it.
Well, hopefully it'll fit. There's going to be some joist hangers in the way. I know that the joist hanger is going to be holding it up. Oh man, why won't that go in better? But it's because of those stupid joist hangers.
Oh, dust in my eyes.
That's a little better.
Once the posts were in, Rich took some measurements and cut 2 rails. He temporarily installed the top railing to a height of 38.5 inches. Code is a minimum of 36, but we wanted it to be a little higher for some added security. Once that was done, we decided to cut the top of the post to a final height of 42.5 inches. The lower railing was also temporarily installed to a height of 4 inches above the rough floor. Code is 4 inches, so no matter what flooring we decide to install later on, we'll always be to code. All right, so these 2 pieces are done and ready for some stain. Rich cut the tops of the posts and sanded them, and then he stained all the posts and rails using Minwax honey-colored stain. We changed our minds. We don't like them. So Rich is going to try to plane them and sand them down, and we'll restain them. So today's gonna be a fun day of, it comes out nice when you do it twice.
Every day of that, yeah. Struggle all the time with these stains. Every time 2 pieces of wood, you know, don't come out the same. Do it. So here goes nothing. Looking good. I might try and just sand all that out. I think I'm going to leave that. I'm going to sand it out because I don't want to make this post too small. Let's do the other one.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
Yep.
It's leaning up against the chimney roll, you might.
Hang on. Yep, go. Okay.
Bleeding?
Yeah. Now that Richie ran them through the planer, we're gonna give Honey another try and see if it comes out any better. After restaining them, the color wasn't that much lighter, but we weren't doing it again, so we just added 3 coats of polyurethane and decided to make the most of it.
It looks better.
For sure. Next, Richie installed the posts. He used a paddle bit to create a countersink hole and then pre-drilled. Then he used a 5/16 by 6 inch structural timber screw. He did this in 2 locations on each post where they will eventually be hidden once the rails are installed. And as an added precaution, he also added 3 10x3 framing screws through the rim joist into each post.
Now that these are screwed into place and everything is stained and polyurethane, I want to take another dry fit and get accurate measurements for our things. Yeah, see, I knew this was going to fit loose now because I sucked it in. I had a feeling that might happen, but I think we could still make it work. So for the front of this one, I'm sort of looking at this or this. This is actually almost looks a little nicer, but it's a little darker too.
Fine.
You feel good about it?
Yeah.
$26.5 plus 3 is $29.5. So yeah, you were right. Be good. How's it look from down there?
Looks fantastic. Honestly, I have to say that I think the color is really good.
Paint spacers here.
Good.
Makes everything's level, and I also use the same spacer for 3/4 of an inch setback on that face of the post. So that's pretty much where everything's going to stay.
Getting ready to cut rebar.
This thing's heavy, and it's cold out here in case you couldn't tell.
Well, what would be the other option to cut it if we didn't have that?
Angle grinder.
I think this is easier.
Yeah, this is faster. Plenty of rebar. I have my choice. I might as well pick the straightest one I could find. Maybe this one.
Yeah, use the crummy ones first.
I'm going to use this one, and I'll use some of the short ones.
Okay. How many did we need?
13.
13.
That should be it.
That's definitely faster than an angle grinder.
Yeah, 29.5. Perfect. This will be my one I make. Copy them all.
Okay.
12 more to go.
Here's how we figured out how many pieces of rebar we needed. The goal is to have the rebar balusters balanced along the railing. You don't want to end up with 4 inches on one end and 3 inches on the other. So we took the length of our rail, which was 53¼ inches, and divided by 2 and marked the center. Then we started subtracting 4 inches and labeling those locations along the line until we reached a number less than 4 inches. Building code here is 4 inches between the balusters, so we decided to use 4 inches on center, so we'll actually end up being a little closer than the code calls for. This was to keep it simple and on the safe side. At the end of all the subtraction, if we had ended up with a number less than 2 inches near the post, we knew it would look awkward, so we had a plan to shift them a little. But in this case, it was over 2 inches and it worked out perfectly for us. In the end, after doing all the math, we knew we needed 6 on each side and 1 in the middle for a total of 13. Some smaller pieces that we're going to cut up.
Yeah. Basically useless. Sitting over there for years. Just a little short. It's okay though. Keep doing that. I don't know if you can see all this dust, but I didn't want to inhale that stuff, that's for sure. These took a little longer because they were really rusty, but they came out really good. This is what we got. So now we're ready for paint.
It took 1 can of spray paint to do 3 coats on all 13 pieces.
Alright, so Kathy's idea is to make some sort of a template for the marking of the holes that have to be drilled in rails. So I don't know if you can see, we got a couple of cross marks, one every 4 inches, and we're going to drill a whole bunch of holes.
Starting at the center of the rail, we used a center punch to mark the centers of the holes to be drilled.
Putting a little dent in first so you could get it lined up is good.
Ready for the
big reveal.
The big reveal.
Put them together and see if they line up good. They look great.
Now I just got to find the right size drill bit, drill them 1.5 inches deep on both sides, clamp them down when I do that, and
hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Here's 1.5 inches. Tight fit, Kath.
Too tight. No go? I think you might be stopping at the hardware store tonight.
Yeah. All right, I was able to find a 9/16 paddle bit. That was the only bit I could come up with. My local hardware store didn't have a 9/16 Forester bit. 1/2 inch was too tight. 9/16 is a little bit loose, but I think it'll work. I did a couple of test holes in this piece here. I have to set my depth on my drill press.
We planned on having the rebar go into the wood a total of 3 inches. That's 1.5 inches at the top and 1.5 inches at the bottom. However, the paddle bit has a point on it, so Rich needed to set the depth to 2 inches to account for that extra 1/2 inch.
Because we have an extra 1/2 inch of this point on there. I've got my stop adjusted. I made a mark for 1.5 inches down, and it stops, and that's my depth, so I should be good. I'd rather be a little too deep so we have room to wiggle it around. Time to start drilling. All right, so we have all our holes drilled. Let's see how good we did. 26.5. The only thing that makes it a little bit tricky is that I'm hanging over the edge. I don't like hanging over edges.
Using the 4-inch 2x4 spacers underneath the rail and a 1/2 inch spacer in front of it, Rich pre-drilled and used brown number 8 2.5 inch deck screws that we already had to toenail the rail in place on each side. Then he put in the 26.5 inch spacer between the bottom and the top rail, and then started putting in the rebar balusters.
looks great. I don't feel like those little tiny screws are gonna do anything for safety. Don't we have better little screws?
Actually,
I guess not.
I think I do. I do. Remember the tent guy?
Yeah, I do.
All right, this is a much better screw.
We purchased these really nice heavy-duty brackets to install on the back of the rails for added strength, but we decided not to use the little screws it came with.
Kathy touched those up with a little stain. I think that's going to be fine. Just a little extra. All right, here goes nothing. It's the ultimate test. Ah! I think it's going to be good. Thumbnail. I'm not disappointed with the results. I think we did good here, and we saved a ton of money. We got quotes like $3,500 to have this railing done up here. And so far we're into it for some rough sawn lumber and a little bit of stain and paint and some leftover rebar, which cost us pretty much nothing. So as good as this looks and as good as it came out, in true fashion, I want to make a slight change. The black brackets actually look really nice. So I think it's a good idea to center this rail in the post and put a bracket on each side of it.
So, of course, Rich took it all apart and put it back together again.
So I'm using like a 2 1/4 inch screw in the middle, and then I'm using 1 inch screws here. These are all 1 inch screws.
So nice and strong.
Yeah, it should be plenty. The railing is super strong. I could probably stand on this to paint the ceiling if I wanted to.
We're really happy with the way it came out. We love the look. So next week we're going to be working on the second section out of a total of 4 going across the loft. And that section has like an elbow.
A 45-degree angle turn that we have to do. So a little bit of a challenge there.
Stay tuned and see how we do it. Thanks for joining us.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Kathy.
And we are creating a simpler life here in the Adirondacks.
But simple doesn't mean easy. See you in the next video.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
So the floor's crooked.
But yet we're low, like, you know, like I just said.
It looks good to me. Looks great.